Hello everybody, this is Yoko's Anime Reactions, and you're probably wondering, what the heck is this? Well, this is this. The Eminence in Shadow. It is actually a light novel. Who would have thunk? I knew it was going to either be a light novel or a manga, and I was checking the reviews because sometimes they'll say, I thought this was a light novel, it turns out it's a manga or something like that. No, the way they were talking about it, it sounded like you could read it, which means it's a light novel, so I bought it. And I got lucky. It's a light novel. Yay! So maybe we'll get some freaking answers here. Okay. Prologue. Preparing the perfect stage. I honestly can't remember what catalyzed this desire. All I know is I've admired shadow brokers for as long as I can remember. Was it a certain anime? Or was it a manga? Or a movie? I guess it doesn't matter. I was all in for anything that featured a mastermind, or an eminence in shadow, as I like to call them. So that's where the whole eminence of shadow came from. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? I guess the one behind the scenes, the mastermind behind this thing. These characters were never the protagonists or final bosses, but were relegated to a role behind the scenes where they flaunted their powers and meddled in the affairs of others. Okay, so that's where he's getting the whole wanting to be a background character thingy. So that's why he never stuck out. Or that's why he never let himself to stick out. Okay. I've always looked up to the men in the shadows. I wanted to be one of them. Think of children who worship their favorite superheroes. That was me, but with master puppeteers. Great. That's why I got the whole vibe from World's Finest Assassin on this one, because he would manipulate his people into believing whatever he said, essentially, when there was no real proof. Well, there was one thing that set us apart. My reverence for them wasn't short-lived. In fact, it buried itself deeper in my heart, never dying out, and always guiding me through life. To become stronger, I learned everything from karate to boxing, from swordplay to mixed martial arts. I hammed it up during all my practices, concealing my true power from the world and preparing for the fated day. At school, I played the part of being pleasantly mediocre, an unassuming face in the crowd, like an NPC in a game or part of the mob. I didn't do any harm, but behind this facade of normalcy, I was training full throttle. That's how I spent my entire youth. But as time passed, an uneasy feeling started to haunt me. I was due for a reality check. Yeah, that's right. This was all for nothing. I realized I'd never become as powerful as shadow commanders in the stories. It didn't matter how hard I tried and trained in martial arts. Sure, I could clobber a few punks, but that was it. It'd be a tough fight if anyone drew a gun, and if I was surrounded by soldiers in full gear. I'd be toast. Dunzo. Old news. The idea of a shadow broker getting curb-stomped by some soldiers, ridiculous. Let's say I trained for 10 more years. Or that I became the greatest martial artist in the world. I'd still get wrecked by a gang of commandos. Or maybe I managed to escape by the skin of my teeth, or train hard enough to fight back. It's all in the realm of possibility. But even if I somehow managed to do that, these guys could set off a nuke and vaporize me in an instant. There's a limit to the human body, that much I knew. That said, my master puppeteers would never be taken down by a nuke. Which means I need to be impervious to them too. How? What does one need to survive a nuclear attack? Is it the ability to pack a punch? Could it be a body of steel? How about unlimited stamina? Wrong, and wrong again. You need a totally different kind of power. Some call it magic. Others mana, or chi, or aura, or you get the point. Anything will do. I need to obtain this clandestine ability. I'd managed to reach this conclusion when I finally confronted reality head-on. I'll try to explain. Let's say someone is on a quest for magical powers. Anyone would think they're nuts. Hell, I know I would. I'd think they'd gone bonkers. But consider this. No one in this world has proved that magic exists. Or disproved it. I couldn't find those powers with my sanity intact. I had to dive to the depths of lunacy. I started training in a new way that was damn near impossible. After all, no one knows how to acquire magic, mana, chi, or what have you. I practiced Zen meditation. I braved the purification ceremony of standing under waterfalls. I focused my entire being inward. I fasted. I mastered the art of yoga. I converted religions. I searched for holy spirits. I prayed to God. I strapped myself to a cross. There was no right answer, which meant I groped my way through the darkness and sprinted down my chosen path. which brings us here. I'm just about ready to start my final summer as a high schooler, and I've yet to discover magic, or mana, or chi, or auras. It is already dark by the time I finish my daily training session. I pick up and put on my underwear, which I chuck to the side, and wiggle my arms to the sleeves of my school uniform. I have yet to pick up these secret magical skills, but I've been starting to feel the effects of my training, I think, of late. Like, right now. I can see flashing lights going off in my mind, and sense the world is spinning. It could be magic, or auras. In either case, I'm feeling its effects, that's for sure. I'm proud to announce that I've completed another successful session. I wonder what the heck he's saying there. When I'm in the thick of it, I rip off every single article of clothing and get buck naked in the forest. It makes me one with the universe. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? I bash my skull into the trunk of a giant tree to physically force out my worldly thoughts. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? He is kind of going bonkers here. Plus, it stimulates my brain and urges my latent powers. You are so dumb. You're just giving yourself a concussion here. Urges my latent powers to awaken. You know, I'm all about logic when it comes to these things. No, you're not. You're all about delusions here. Yeah, everything's beginning to get all blurry right about now. It's a sensation comparable to giving myself a concussion. Thankfully! Thank you, at least you know that much. Good lord. Yeah, I think you gave yourself a concussion there, man. I made my way out of the forest with the lightest of footsteps, feeling like I'm treading on clouds. Just then I see light. 2 beams floating in the air and slicing through space. How strange. They're beckoning me, guiding me somewhere. Magic? I whispered, tiptoeing towards the illumination. He's going towards a freaking truck! That's where he's going! It's Truck Coon about to get you, man. Whoopsie. It must be. I feel idiotic just reading this, guys. It's gotta be. I finally found the powers of the unknown. No, you're about to get run over, man. I noticed that I've gone from walking to sprinting, tripping, and my magic. In conclusion, I was able to find magical powers. When I open my eyes, I sense that I'm surrounded by its energy, though I gotta admit it looks different from the 2 lights. No biggie. Oh, and one other small detail. As a side effect, I managed to reincarnate. Yep, you got killed. I bet I opened a door to another world when I found magic or something. No, you saw the headlights of a vehicle, ran towards them, got run over and killed, and now you're in another world. That's exactly what happened. Is this guy delusional? Or is it just me? Please, give your thoughts on this. Because this is just nuts. At least in World's Finest Assassin, he knew what he wasn't delusional at all. He knew exactly what he was doing when he went into that, when he ended up in the other world. He knew exactly what he was doing when he died. This guy has no idea. Or maybe he does. I don't know. Whatever. As for right now, I'm a baby boy, a few months old. I only recently started forming thoughts, but it's still hard for me to guess how much time has elapsed at any given moment. Plus, I don't know any words, but I guess it's plain to recognize that this civilization is more or less the same as Europe in the Middle Ages. But none of that's important. I've acquired magical powers. That's the end-all, be-all. I couldn't care less about how it happened, or any bonus features. I noticed magic as soon as I start displaying glimmers of consciousness all around me. I can see minuscule grains of light floating and shimmering. It reminds me of those times in my past life when I frolicked through a field of flowers, stark naked, to train and find spirits, obviously. No, this guy is completely insane. And it turns out my training wasn't a total waste after all. Well, your physical training, the boxing and everything, no, that wasn't a total waste of time. But this, I don't know. I mean, my ability to detect this energy is proof enough, and I can control it as easily as my limbs. It's comparable to when I strapped my naked body to a cross and not to Jesus. Oh, God. I feel insane just reading this stuff. Or maybe when I flip-flop religions and danced around in prayer in my birthday suit. I bet every little thing in my training sessions helped me in the long run. It's already taught me that I can get stronger. Plus, time is of no consequence for a baby. I'm ready to use these years of training and become an eminence and shadow once and for all. Oops, I think I've made a duty. What the fuck? I mean, I've already episode 2, I just got done editing it, and I know this does happen in the anime, but Jesus Christ. Plus, which reminds me, I heard somewhere that birds let their droppings dribble out involuntarily, and I think human babies are the same. Sort of. I can find the good part of logic and reasoning, but it feels as though my instincts take over, whispering, just do it, in my ear. That said, this is me we're talking about. I spent my waking hours training in my past life, pulling together all the strength in my body. I tightened my sphincter, buying me some time. Oh, God. What? To summon people. Why? I swear to God, in the anime, his crying sounds like an adult man trying to fake cry like a baby. That's what it sounds like. I think it's been 10 years. You know, magic is something else. It means I can surpass the body limitations of humans, lift ginormous boulders with a single finger, dash twice as fast as a horse, leap higher than a house. That said, I'm no match for nukes. Yep, there's still no match for nukes. Well, I know my defenses will increase with my magical capacity, but have you seen the firepower of those weapons on Earth? Yeah, I've heard stories. There was a time when I contemplated forgetting about them entirely because we don't have nukes in this world. Yeah, you don't. So why are you even thinking about that? But what good is a master puppeteer who sells for less? No good. Not at all. That means my next mission is to become strong enough to beat weapons of mass destruction. After extensive research and training, I found one potential solution which I've been incorporating into my daily experiments. Oh yeah, and it seems I've been born into a noble family. For generations, members of this family have been trained to become Dark Knights, who use magic to power up and slay enemies in battle. And as my family's rising star of a son, not. What is his name? We never did find out his name except his last name. I don't think, anyway. I'm living my days as your average apprentice. After all, shadow brokers need to be extremely selective about when, where, and to whom they reveal their powers. Yeah, I'll lie and wait until then. I know I'm not exerting my true potential and that I am cutting corners, but I learned some skills in Apprentice that have come in handy. Like how magic is used on the battlefield in this world, it's been a good opportunity for me to reflect on my own techniques. To be completely honest, it's clear to me that the fighting styles from my past life were 100 times more logical and refined than the ones here. I mean, look at any contemporary martial arts battle. Those fighters rebuke unnecessary movements, drawing from various combat schools and whittling them down to the creme de la creme. This creates the conditions for the perfect fight. It relies on the rules of the game, of course, but this mental attitude can be used to identify the best of the best in any situation. And then consider this world. First and foremost, their fighting techniques stay in their country of origin, which means different schools of combat don't cross borders. Plus, there are certain secret skills that countries won't allow out of their jurisdiction. Not that we'd be able to spread them to begin with, since no forms of media are readily available to us. Which means we can't combine techniques from other forms of fighting, much less reject or improve our own. If I had to describe this system in one word, I'd call it unrefined. But there's one fundamental difference between the two worlds. That's right, magic. It completely changes the baseline of physical performance. Take physical strength, for example. I can lift someone up with one hand, which means any knowledge about hand-to-hand combat and wrestling or ground fighting goes out the window. Even if we're in a mounted grappling position, I can soar through the air by flexing my abs. If I've got my foot hooked on an opponent in an offensive guard, I can blast them off me by activating my leg muscles. Yeah, ground fighting is out of the question. Yeah, you essentially made sure that nobody can do that to you now. Which is nuts. It's like how humans have their method of combat and gorillas have a breed of their own. And I'll just leave it at that. There are also differences in the distance and speed at which combatants step into their attacks, meaning it's harder to predict their movements in battle. This might be the most important thing. I mean, martial arts are all about reading your opponents at an appropriate range. The angle, position, and distance of your attacks are everything. It took me a while to get the hang of the last one, especially because these fighters attack from afar, like 16 feet apart. I mean, I guess I get it. They're lightning fast and take ginormous steps, and I just assumed this was their way of fighting, until I realized it was to compensate for their poor defense tactics. I'm sure this is relatable to all martial artists. Those who can't guard will stand too far from their opponents. It's really scary to get hit. I get it. It's tempting to retreat to where your opponent can't reach you, but this results in a contest where one fighter attacks and the other retreats, and vice versa, which is a real snore. You call this outboxing? Try again. This is just an exercise of running back and forth. It doesn't matter if the fighters are 5 or 100 meters apart. They can't land a decent hit either way. It could be 6 or 7 or 10 meters, it's all the same. This has been a public service announcement to close the gap and duke it out. Once you cross a certain threshold, 1 millimeter can make a huge difference. And it stands at the exact point where I can both land a blow and react to an attack. Throw in other factors like the angle of my hits, and the slightest turn can mean an advantage or a disadvantage. The narrowest of margins is the best range between two fighters. A battle shouldn't be about one combatant dashing in 16 feet and the other leaving back 19. I guess I came into this whole thing with an idea of what to expect from other worlds, which, compounded with my unfamiliarity of magic, left me confused about their combat scene. But I've gotten my bearings straight out as of late. It's all chill now. I train every day at home, where our dad basically directs us on how to throw down, and I grapple with my older sister. I know she's only 2 years older than me. Really? Only 2? She looked a lot older in the anime. But she has natural talent, according to everyone else. If she keeps it up, she's the one who will take over as head of the family, which isn't uncommon in this world since magic can make women powerful enough to become the heir. Geez, you're so strong, I whimper every day as she kicks my ass. But I can't win. If I want to become a Shadow Commander, I've got to establish myself as the most average of all background characters. So he's trying to become a mob, but like Leon, he's too strong to be a background character at this point. Leon flaunts it. This guy does not. So there's a big difference right there. That's how I've been living out my day-to-day. Tack on lessons about how to act as an aristocrat and hanging out with people to secure my place as a low-profile extra, and I've barely got any free time during the day. Which means the only time for me to train is after everyone else has gone to bed late into the night. I may be cutting into my beauty sleep, but I've been using magic to recover super quick, and meditation to catch some Z's in new ways. And now I've pretty much got short sleeper syndrome. I make it work. Okay, time to get down to business. I blast through my usual training regimen in the forest. I've got something special planned today. I've heard that rogues have taken up residence in the ghost town nearby. According to my investigation, it's a large gang of thieves, and the perfect opportunity to test my new weapon. Hang on, guys, I'm trying to adjust how I'm sitting. I take down bandits here and there, but a whole group of criminals, that's the event of the year. And I'm always short on sparring partners, so I welcome evildoers with open arms. Oh, please, 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 infest this place with more crime. Jeez, man, I know you want to be able to get rid of criminals, but jeez, that's still not a good thing. I think it's standard for villages to try to deal with offenders on their own terms, but they mostly get away scot-free. I mean, our judicial system is in the city, which is why I've decided to take the law into my own hands. Today marks the historic day of my first official battle with my newest weapon. I've been experimenting with it for months and call it the slime bodysuit. Okay, here's where we get an explanation on that, because I had no clue where the heck it came from. Allow me to explain. We can use magic in this world to strengthen our bodies and weapons, but there are energy losses when it's transferred from one form to another. For example, if I run 100 currents of magic through an average steel sword, only 10% of them will be of use in combat. A whopping 90% is lost. Dear Lord, that's a lot. Even a mithril sword, which is known to be compatible with magic, it's considered high-end if it performs at 50% capacity. That's when slimes caught my eye. A slime is a magical being that uses energy to change form and wobble from place to place. According to my research, I found they have a conductivity of an astonishing 99%. On top of that, they're in a liquid state, which means they can change their shape at will. I started testing slime jellies after capturing and crushing their cores. Easily more than 1,000 of them. Jesus Christ, man. How many of you... Did you kill off the whole species of slimes? I hope not. In fact... Oh, yeah, here we go. In fact, I pushed them to the brink of extinction in my area by killing too many and had to go on an expedition to find more. Oh, okay, so he didn't kill them off completely. He just killed them off in his area. Okay. The jellies are easy to handle and strong to boot. I successfully molded the slime into a wearable bodysuit, which is a super lightweight and silent, unlike armor. Plus, it almost, supports my movements, and I've given it killer defenses, of course. As for right now, I've wrapped in a black slime bodysuit. Ew. It's a simple, no-frills getup that fits my body perfectly, except for eyes, nostril, and mouth. I'm virtually indistinguishable from the criminals in a certain famous detective manga. I might want to think up a more suitable design when I'm interviewing in a scheme as a full-fledged shadow broker. Hang on, let me check the time. I'll continue a little bit more. I managed to arrive at the ghost town late into the night, but I could see a few lights in the darkness. The thieves seemed to be having a feast to celebrate their robbing of merchants. Wow, I'm super lucky. You see, thieves aren't good at planning, and they immediately squander what they steal, which means they only have something decent right after a successful attack. And one man's treasure is another man's treasure. What's theirs is mine. This is how I'll get the funds to become a puppet master. Anyway, I crashed their feast, excited as all hell. Not with a surprise attack, because that won't make for good practice. A good practice session. Yahoo! Hand over the loot, scumbags! I shriek in the middle of their banquet. Who the hell is this puny dude? I mean, I'm only 10 years old. Duh. It's only natural that I'm short. Well, this guy don't know that? You heard me? Now fork over the goods, I shout, punting the rude man across the room for calling me small. Don't turn an Edward Elric on me, man. That's funny. The other thieves finally draw their weapons. Hey, keep it up and we ain't gonna hold back your breath. Take that, I exclaim as I slice through his neck, severing his head from his shoulders mid-sentence. That's right, my sword is made of slime, which means I can draw it from my bodysuit when the situation calls for it. And it has a bunch of nifty functions. I would assume so. Number 1, it can elongate. Take that and that. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's just funny. I extend my... what am I saying? Someone did mention it was a comedy, so... guess that's why? I extend my sword and slay all the dinky thieves in the vicinity. I stretch the slime out in the shape of a whip with edges as sharp as a sword. It's my first time wielding it, so I'm a tad nervous, but I can totally see how it might come in handy. And... huh? I noticed the room has got all silent as I got a little too carried away with slashing and slicing around me. Wait, is there only one guy left? Who are you? I guess you'll be my guinea pig for function number 2. The hell do you mean? To break it down, you look stronger than the rest of them. I'm assuming you're like their boss or something, right? Your chances of winning are squat, but if you let me practice on you, I bet you'll live for, 2 extra minutes. Good luck. Stop playing, you brat. In the Capitol, I'm the, hey you, skip the speech and come at me. Die, damn it. Booms the boss or whatever as he closes the distance between us, taking a sweet old time to swing at me, and I obviously don't budge. His sword plunges straight into my chest and I'm thrown to the ground on impact. Haha, that's what you get for messing with me. I've mastered the Royal Russian method and... what? Ta-da! You couldn't even scratch me. I rise to my feet as if nothing happened, and wow, I couldn't be happier with my suit's defenses. I mean, these weak-ish shit attacks can't even touch me. I've heard it seems to be all the rage in the Capitol. Show me. Damn you, swears the boss as he strikes me. Yeah, no sweat. As he swings the sword with all his might, I don't even ready mine, sidestepping and ducking to dodge him, no problem. The Royal Russian method, was it? I could get into their ways of wielding the sword. I mean, it's not every day you get to see someone fighting over something other than spirituality, old-fashioned standards, or personal beliefs in this world. This was a fight motivated by logic. I could see it from his clumsy set of attacks. In the length of a second, a small step forward. I see him calculate his next strike and take creative approaches. That said, his attacks leave a lot to be desired. And in the next free moment, I step just out of his range. Why can't I hit you? I mean, you're weaker than my old man. Though I guess you're stronger than my sister, not that it means anything. And I bet she'll whoop your butt in another year. You little shit! He screeches, frantically bashing his sword in my direction. I parry his advances before kicking him lightly in the shin, snapping my leg forward quickly as though on reflex. Why? The boss whimpers, curling into a fetal position and clutching his leg. Ooh. Blood drips from his shin and pools on the ground. It's a cheap trick, you know. I have a blade as sharp as an ice pick sticking out of my toes. Oh, that just sucks for this guy. Yeah, it is a cheap trick. The second handy-dandy feature of the slime sword is that I can wield my blade from wherever and whenever I want. I thought this tactic showed the most potential. All I have to do is get in front of the enemy and slash him with the sword in my shoe, since lower body attacks are hard to block. I parry him, lock blades, and give my opponent a kick. It's nothing flashy, but it gets the job done. I guess we're through. Wait, you didn't even last 2 minutes, I note, before kicking the boss in the chin with the blade on my foot. Death by impalement. He twitches as I roll him to the side and rummage through his loot. Artwork? I can't sell that. Hard pass on food. Come on, where are the cash, jewels, and precious metals? Gimme, gimme, gimme. There are several carriages worth of spoils, and many dead merchants. I whispered to the corpses. I've avenged you. Now you can rest knowing your treasure will be put to good use. I hope you make it to heaven. Would there be a heaven in this world? I don't know. Maybe. I gather my haul and pray in silence. I'm guessing I found about 5 million zenny. 1 zenny is more or less equal to 1 Japanese yen. All this will help find my activities as a shadow broker. You know, the world would be a much better place if it were overrun by criminals. Oh, how I wish life were like a video game and I can encounter enemies by walking down the street. Please wreak more havoc in your next life, I say to the boss, giving him a thumbs up when I notice something past my fingertip. Is that a cage? It looks sturdy and pretty big. Did they have slaves? Hard pass on anything I can't trade for cash. But what if there's something valuable inside? I lift its cover. Well, this is unexpected. I'm not sure how to describe it, but this cage holds a mound of rotting flesh. I can kind of tell it's made human maybe, but no clue as to its age or gender. But it's alive. Wait, it might even be conscious. I peer into the cage and the flesh jolts all of a sudden. I've heard of the church executing these creatures. I think they're called the possessed. They're born as normal humans until their flesh rots out of nowhere, fated for death. But the church goes out of its way to purchase them, executing them in the name of purification. They claim they're exorcising demons, but they're really just murdering the sick. But the ignorant masses applaud and praise them for keeping peace on Earth. It's just as you'd expect from the Middle Ages. What a frickin' downer. I bet I'd get more zenny than this entire load of spoils if I were to sell this to the church, but that's pointless to say since I can't sell it. Well, I guess I should put it out of its misery. I stick my slime sword into the cage when I notice something else. Namely, this mound of flesh contains an abundance of magic. I've been training my magic since childhood, but this surpasses mine. It's honestly beastly. And this? Is this a wavelength? The effects of magical overload? I guess the magical overload must be the reason this turned into a pile of flesh. I've suffered its effects firsthand before. If I hadn't gotten it under control back then, I might have ended up suffering this. Really? This happened to you? I know magic has certain effects on the body, which I felt all too well that fated day. I could sense its potential to raise my tolerance for magic and allow me to handle more of it, but it would be too dangerous to induce a magical overload. I had tossed the idea. But if I were to hypothetically conduct experiments on the product of this phenomenon, I could get closer to becoming a shadow commander without any risks. I can use this, I say, as I reach out to the flesh and infuse it with magic. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here. Yeah, this guy is definitely odd. Give me your thoughts on him in the comments, please. And I'll see you guys next time.